Hello and welcome to this video on the Devops Roadmap 2026. If you want to become a DevOps engineer but are not sure where to start, this video is for you. Today, companies don't just want to build software, they want to release it faster, manage it better, and keep it running smoothly. And that is exactly why DevOps has become such an important role. In simple words, DevOps bring development and operation together to make software delivery faster, more reliable, and more automated. Because of this, DevOps engineers are in strong demand. The role offers very good salary potential, and you can also build strong long-term career growth in this field. And to make this journey simple and clear, this whole roadmap is divided into 8 clear steps. So with that, let's start with our very first step. Step 1. Start with the basics. The first step is to build your base. Before you learn DevOps tool, you need to understand the environment in which those tools work. That means you should begin with Linux, networking, Git, and a little bit of scripting. Linux is important because most servers in real projects run on Linux. So you should know how to move between folders, create and edit files, check logs, manage permissions, and work in the terminal with confidence. Along with that, networking is also very important because applications are always talking to each other. You should understand IP address, port, DNS, HTTP, HTTPS, SSH, and firewalls. Then comes Git, because in DevOps, a lot of work is managed through version control. Code configuration, files, script, pipeline, and even infrastructure files are often tracked through Git. And finally, learning Python or shell scripting helps you automate small but important tasks. So this first step is all about getting comfortable with basics because that is what everything else will stand on. Now, before we move further, here is something you should definitely check out. If you want to master DevOps and build job-ready skills for today's cloud-driven tech world, you can check out AI-enabled DevOps Engineer Master Program by Simplilearn. This 6-month live online program is designed to help you learn modern DevOps, DevSecOps, and AI-driven automated in a practical way. With hands-on learning across tools like Git, Jenkins, Docker, Kubernetes, Ansible, Terraform, Prometheus, and Grafana, along with live classes and interactive labs, you also get access to official learning content from IBM and Microsoft, and career support through Simplilearn's Job Assist. So if you want a structured path to learn, practice, and prepare for real DevOps and cloud engineering roles, this program can be a very good option. Now moving ahead with our step 2, which is learn how cloud actually works. Now once your basics are clear, the next step is cloud. Now that you know how Linux works, how networking works, and how systems connect with each other, you're ready to understand where modern applications are actually hosted. A good place to start is AWS. You don't need to learn every AWS service, just focus on important ones. Learn EC2 to understand virtual servers, S3 to understand storage, IAM to understand users and permissions, VPC to understand networking, and CloudWatch to get an idea of logs and monitoring. At this very stage, the goal is not to become an AWS expert. The goal is to understand how applications run in a real environment. You should be able to answer simple questions like where the app is running, where the data is stored, how users are getting access, and how system is connected. So after your basic foundation, cloud becomes the next layer because now you are no longer thinking only in theory. You're starting to see the actual setup where DevOps work happen. With this, coming to our very next step, which is learn how applications are packaged. Now that you have understood where applications run, the next step is to understand how they are prepared for the environment. This is where Docker comes in. In real project, one common issue is that the application works fine in one machine, but behaves differently on other. Docker solves that problem by packaging the application along with all the required dependency in a standard format. So at this point, after learning cloud basic, Docker starts making sense because now you can connect the idea clearly. You know the environment, and now you are learning how application is packaged before it goes to the environment. Here you should learn what Docker image is, how container run, how to write Docker file, and how Docker Compose help when multiple containers need to work together. This step is again very important because modern DevOps work depends a lot on container. Once you understand Docker properly, your picture becomes much clearer. You know the base system, the cloud environment, and the packaging method used for application. With this, coming to our step 4, which is learn how changes move automatically. So once you know how applications are packaged, the next step is to learn how those applications are built, tested and deployed automatically. And that is where CI/CD pipeline comes in. This step comes naturally after Docker because once an application is packaged properly, the next question is how do we even move code changes to production in a very fast and reliable way? The answer is through pipeline. CI/CD helps team automate the flow from code commit to build, testing and deployment. So instead of doing these things manually every time, the pipeline handles them in the correct order. At this stage, you can learn one tool like Jenkins, GitHub Action or GitLab CI. You don't need to learn all of them together. The main thing is to understand the process. First, code is pushed, then is built, then it is tested and then it is deployed. This is an important stage in your roadmap because now your understanding moves from how applications are packaged to how applications are delivered continuously. That is the major part of what DevOps is all about. With this, coming to our step 5, which is learn how applications are managed at scale. Now, once you understand Docker and CI/CD, the next step is Kubernetes. And this is the point where Kubernetes start making real sense. Now, Kubernetes is used to manage container at scale. So if Docker helps you package and run containers, Kubernetes helps you manage many containers across multiple machines in a stable way. That is why Kubernetes should come after Docker and CI/CD, not before. Because you already know what a container is, how it is built and how it gets deployed. So next logical step is learning how those deployed applications are managed in a larger production environment. At this stage, focus on the main concept like pods, deployment, services, namespace, config map, secret and ingress. You do not need to go to very deep on day one. First, understand what Kubernetes is doing and why companies use it. It helps with scaling, availability and managing container-based application in a better way. So this step builds on everything you have learned so far. First the basics, then cloud, then Docker, then CI/CD, and now orchestration. With this, coming to step 6, which is learn how to automate infrastructure. Now that you know how applications are deployed and managed, the next step is to automate the infrastructure itself. This is where infrastructure as code becomes important. Till now, you have learned how to work with the operating system, cloud, containers, pipeline, and orchestration. But in real DevOps work, people do not want to manually create servers, network, or cloud resources again and again. That takes time and can also create mistakes. So the next level is learning how to define infrastructures using code. This is where tools like Terraform comes in. Terraform helps you create infrastructure in a repeatable way, and once that infrastructure is created, you may also need to configure system properly, which is where tools like Ansible becomes useful. So now your journey becomes stronger. You're not only deploying application, but you're also learning how to create and prepare the environment in which those applications run. This is a very important shift because this is where you start thinking like a DevOps engineer. With this, coming to a step 7, which is learn monitoring and logging. After infrastructure is automated, the next step is to understand what is happening inside the system once everything is running. Because DevOps is not just about deployment, it is also about reliability, visibility, and maintenance. And that is why monitoring and logging comes next. At this very point, your applications are running, your containers are managed, your pipelines are working, and your infrastructure is in place. So naturally, the next question becomes, how do you know whether the system is healthy or not? How do you know if there is a high CPU usage, low memory, failed request, slow performance, or downtime? This is where monitoring tools like Prometheus and Grafana comes into the picture. Now, if you're using AWS, then CloudWatch is also very important. This step is what helps you operate system properly. You start learning how to read metrics, check dashboards, set alerts, and go through logs when something breaks. So after building and automating the system, this step teaches you how to observe and maintain it. With this, coming to our last step, which is move into advanced DevOps. Once all these steps are clear, then you can move into advanced side of DevOps. This is where topics like GitOps, DevSecOps, platform engineering, service mesh, and AI assistant workflows start becoming useful. Now these topics should come later because they make more sense only after your foundation is really strong. For example, GitOps becomes easier when you're already aware about Git, CI/CD, Kubernetes, and infrastructure automation. Security also becomes more practical when you already know cloud permissions, container, security, secret management, network rule, and pipeline access. So that is all for this video. If you want a free resource PDF for this, just comment DevOps in the description below. Thank you and see you in the next video.